I wanted to make this video to demonstrate with greater detail every movement so that you know exactly what positions to get into and exactly what to avoid. So that very first movement on the list, you're going to see this every day for like the next 4 weeks, is the lock clam. The more you do this, the better you're going to get. You cannot overdo this, so feel free to do it as many times as you want. Getting set on your side, I'm going to lay all the way down, lay flat. Then your top leg, you're going to bend that knee a little bit. You want to bring your big toe to your ankle and your heel to your calf, and then roll your body forward. Use this hand to support yourself, and you want your hips going against gravity, your butt facing the ceiling, and then very important, keep your hips in place. So you're going to raise that top leg and bring it down. Raise it up and down. So you're squeezing your butt. You can go nice and slow. You can go a little bit faster. Just like this, very subtle movement. What you don't want to happen is rolling your hips back. Now I'm just kind of rolling. I don't want to do that. I want to stay still. My butt faces the ceiling. Raise that knee up and down. Again, very short range of motion, but that's all in the glute. Next, we have the low plank. So on the low plank, elbows and toes, get set in this position, slight bend in the knees, and then you're going to kind of shift forward and bring your knees up off the ground. Think about pulling your elbows down. Oh, that creates even more tension in your abs. Shoulders stacked over the elbows, butt is low. A lot of times you see this, people get tired. I understand, but to get the benefit, you want to stay low. Just like this, pulling my elbows down, creating a ton of tension in the core. Ooh. Then we have the modified side plank with a leg lift. So again, we're going back to our side. Full side plank is typically done from the feet to the elbow. And if you're able to do that, I challenge you to do that. However, adding the leg lift can get very difficult. So we go modified. That bottom leg, you're gonna bend, get your foot behind you. From your elbow to your knee, fairly straight line. Hips are slightly bent, slightly behind your knee and your elbow. And then you're gonna raise up, bring your hips forward. This is your modified side plank. So remember, you don't wanna be here. You want those hips forward. So now I'm working this side to keep my body up, and then this top leg, yeah. Even modified, it's difficult. Raise that leg, control this motion. We don't wanna swing around fast. You don't wanna kick your leg out in front of you. You wanna stay nice and in line, nice and controlled. As you're working up to this, let's say you only get 4 or 5, need a break, all right, cool, take your break, reset, hips forward, raise that top leg. So in your high plank, just like a low plank, but instead of elbows and toes, we're on our hands and toes. Again, you want your shoulders stacked over the wrists. You can start out with your knees on the ground and then straighten out your legs right here, push-up position. With the shoulder tap, we are going into a 3-point stance. So I highly, highly recommend widen out your feet, create a wider base of support, bring your hands in a little bit closer, so that way, every time you bring one hand off the ground, your body stays nice and still. So, bracing up the core, tap, back to the ground, tap. So you can see there's very little movement. I want to keep my hips and shoulders facing the ground, squared to the ground. A lot of times folks will have their feet really close together and they'll do this. And that totally negates your core muscles. So, widen out those feet. It's tough. This can also be done from the knees. So if your knees are on the ground, tap, tap, just like this. Still has some benefit. The next movement, the prone hip extension, you will be laying face down for this one. Forehead on the ground, body's in line. Use your hands. You put them on the ground right under your hip bones, and you want to use your hands as pressure sensors. So if I can feel my hip bone, this one, in place where it is, Very gently, very slowly, I'm going to bend that same side leg, and I want my hips to stay where they are. And then from here, I'm going to kick my foot up ever so slightly without letting my hips move. So it probably doesn't look like I moved very much at all. I did, very little bit. Feel where your hips are. Brace the core. Do not let your hip bones move. We're teaching the glutes to extend the hips. And they can only go so far. Good. Prone hip extension. All right, single leg balance with your eyes closed. I totally understand this may sound ridiculous. It's real stuff. So if you watch me from the side, right here with my hands on my hips, I want you to try this as well. Bend as far back as you can. Whoa, I've actually got what feels like pretty good range today. Note where that is, note how that feels, and then you're going to spend 30 seconds on each foot with your eyes closed. You're going to balance, and it's okay to have that leg there for a little bit of support. You just want to tap the ground when you need to. If you stumble, if you fall, try to keep your eyes closed, reset as long as you need. And then you're going to hold this. Count to 30 in your head. Count appropriately. Oh, shit. You're going to see some magic happen. All right, so assume that's 30. I'm going to do 30 on the other side. It's one thing with your eyes opened. It's really tough with your eyes closed. So again, have this foot here. Regain some balance. Maybe you need the countertop. You need to hold on to that. That's okay. That's all right. Do your best. You're gonna do this a lot. You're gonna work up to it. And then once you've got 30 on both sides, I want you to go back and retest. See how much further you're able to get back. Feel how much less pain, less pressure you have when you do that. And that's where you're gonna see the magic. Next on the list, we have a kneeling hip hinge. So kneeling, I'm on my knees. These are my hips, and I want to hinge at my hip. So I personally like to have my hands on my hips so I can feel how they're moving. And I'm gonna push my butt back. As my butt goes back, naturally my chest comes forward. And now if I squeeze my butt, and then I come back to this tall kneeling position, hips go back, hips come up. Again, if you do this really fast, you're not going to feel much. You might feel some pressure in the quads or your knees. If you come back nice and slow, very intentional, really think about pushing your butt back and squeezing your butt forward, being very intentional with every rep. We're going to be able to retrain that hinge pattern, make these muscles stronger. That's your kneeling hip hinge. Then, seated abductions. Grab a chair, grab your hip circle band. This band is going to go around both legs, right above the knees. You could even do this on your couch. You could do this in your office chair, wherever. Sitting straight up, band around the legs, above the knees. Drive those knees out against the band as far as you can. Feel it right here. Squeeze those butts. You can even experiment with forward torso lean. Ooh. You can go upright again. Grab onto the chair. You can lean back. This one's tough. That's going to be different for everybody. There's really no wrong answer. And as long as you're training all three, you're going to be good to go. Right here. Big thing to look out for. Make sure both of your knees are moving out equal distance. You more than likely have one hip stronger than the other, and it may pull out kind of like that. Keep your eyes on your knees. Make sure They both move out. If your feet move, that's fine. It's okay. Drive those knees out, squeeze your butt. You're gonna feel it. Next 3 movements. These are my all-time favorite. I wish I had known about these 10 years ago, and I'm so happy that I learned them. Like many of these movements, I learned these from Dr. Andrew Locke. He's the best shoulder and spine PT in the world. The guy's truly amazing. Please look him up. We have the prone straight arm extension, the prone T extension, and the prone prisoner extension. These are 3 super important mid, upper back, shoulder health and mobility exercises that everybody needs to do. Starting out, laying face down. So my hands down by my sides, palms on the ground. I want to lead with my thumbs. I'm going to raise them up first, and then raise my arms as high as I can, squeezing my shoulder blades together. Set my hands down gently. Leading with the thumb, raising up as high as I can, coming back down. As you get more comfortable, you can add a little bit of speed to these. That's okay. Make sure we're really squeezing those shoulder blades back. Imagine somebody's put a pencil in between your shoulder blades. You want to squeeze that pencil. Thumbs go up first, as high as you can, and back down. Then, prone T extension. Take your hands right out here, still palms down. And another thing, very important to have your head down, centered here. You don't want to turn your head to the side, either of the sides. That's going to favor one of your traps. So keeping your head in this neutral position, palms down, same thing. Raising up, squeeze those shoulder blades back, set them down gently. All the way up and squeeze, back down. Prone T extension. Then the last one. Fingers interlaced, hands on the back of your head, and then you want to raise your elbows up, and you're going to hold that top position, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and bring them back down. All the way up, hold, squeeze, get them up a little bit higher, pausing for 5, and back down. More than likely, you have one side that doesn't get as high as the other side. Feel for that. Maybe have somebody watch you. Try to get them both up as even as you can. And that 5-second pause at the top. Due to equipment, this is the only exercise that may be optional. If you don't have one of these, that's okay. You can get these kinds of workout bands with the door stop attachment. Amazon, Walmart, Target, basically any store. I think most people have these nowadays, and if not, they're super cheap, like 20 bucks will get you a whole set. So if you don't have one, this is optional, and that's all right. This is the last exercise. I'm gonna take up a half kneeling position, so one knee down, one foot down. Grab onto that band, and we're gonna do our high angle row with that side crunch. So think about pulling your elbow back. You want to feel a big squeeze in this area, lots of tension in the lat. Pull it back, and then crunch to your side to really finish off that muscle. Anything it's got left is going to come out right in that side crunch. And as you progress, as you get better and more comfortable with this movement, you can flow into it, kind of put it together more fluidly versus segmenting it like this. Neither one is wrong. It's whichever you're more comfortable with.